Hey, welcome to Live America podcast. This is Hatem, and this is one of my favorite kind of episodes. It's a conversation you walk away with a new mindset, which means a lot to me. You become stronger physically and mentally, and more importantly, you become more resilient. So my goal is after you listen to this episode, you feel inspired and equipped to improve your health, discipline, resilience, and I have an amazing guest. That's what he does for a living. Our guest is Alex VanHouten. He's an exercise science coach, a health and performance expert who has spent years coaching elite athlete, special forces, high-level operator, and also helping everyday people. He's also part of the family of Everyday Spy, which is a great platform. You could definitely check it out. And he's an author as well of Faithful Fitness, and he's here. Alex, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Hatem. I'm very much looking forward to this conversation.
Excellent. I'll explain in the middle why this is, it should mean a lot to everybody, but I'll explain why, with my personal journey as well in the middle. But first, tell us what is an exercise science?
Yeah, great question. An exercise scientist is somebody who, one, is dedicated to the understanding of how exercise changes the way our bodies operate.
Mm,
And those individuals can work in a lab, but they could also work in the everyday practice of individuals. And that's where I've found myself. Most of my over 10,000 hours of experience in exercise science has been with real people in gyms, in my garage gym slash studio here, in different fitness facilities, and by helping. I had an opportunity to get to teach doctors in the Dominican Republic how to use cardiorespiratory equipment and whatnot. And an exercise scientist is dedicated to using exercise to create adaptations in individuals. And the science part of it is where you actually look at the results that you're getting from the people that you're working with. And so in exercise science, we look at exercise from a different lens than somebody like a personal trainer or somebody like a physical therapist.
mm. So we live in a world where, a lot of misinformation, a lot of platform, not in every category, and affect us in many ways. We see even the news, you watch a story, and if you watch in one channel, it's one thing, and it's the same video that you personally just watched, and
Hmm.
two different outcomes everybody's saying. And this isn't everything, but I think it's very important also in the health and fitness because you see all these influencers not backed by science. You see these, the fitness industry in general, which is a lot of them even based on like pay to play kind of concept. It's all about getting the money. The results for them, it's the person who is actually teaching it just look great, and then and no science behind it. So how do you deal and how do you suggest people to deal with this? How to get the information? How to navigate through the fitness industry and all this shit?
Such a good question because this is actually one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about, and that makes me very frustrated when trying to help people because nothing bothers me more than seeing an individual who's working hard every day to to put food on the table for their family, to make the most out of the time and energy they have, and to make the most of their money. And then for them to spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on snake oil supplements and fitness programs that aren't getting them anywhere. And then to feel like, and this is the kicker, to feel like this isn't for me. Weight training's not for me. Running's not for me. The supplements not, nothing works for me. That sort of thing. And to me, that's my deepest area of research, which is the effect of the belief of individuals
Mm,
on the physiology of their body. And when I start getting in my head that, oh, there's something wrong with me, nutrition doesn't work for me. I tried counting my calories and it doesn't work. Or weight training's not for me. I tried lifting weights and my back hurts too much. Something like that. When I start getting that in my head, belief wise, it changes my physiology. It actually changes the way my body operates with regard to nutrition and exercise. And that's a really hard thing to shake. And so the fitness industry has not done us any favors in that respect, right? Now any industry is a two-part thing. You have the marketing of the business that brings out this message on people. And in the fitness industry, a lot of times the marketing is like, oh, if you could just, it's this magic pill idea. If you could just take the supplement, you'd burn the fat. If you could just do this, 12-minute workout, you would look like that guy, right? It's a magic pill idea, right? So the marketing doesn't help, that's for sure, right? But then every business is a result of a relationship between that business and their market. And so when individuals are looking for a quick fix, this single pill idea, oh my gosh, that's the supplement I've been missing. Oh my gosh, that's the workout. That's the celebrity I'd like to look like. When that's the attitude of individuals spending money, then you have this relationship where as long as there's a profit, it sticks around, right? And so what I would encourage individuals is when you look out into the world and you have people giving you health and fitness advice, because there's a bunch of them, nutrition, exercise, right? When you have people giving you advice, there's a couple things you can look for. The top thing you can look for is how consistent is this business or individual in the fitness industry, right? If this is a 20-year-old Instagram model, I'm so sorry, being 20 is very, very different from being 40 with kids, right? And so that individual can say whatever they want to say, whether they're doing this peptide or lifting these weights or spending 8 hours a day in the gym, right? And they can definitely sell that magic pill idea. So the consistency of this person in the industry is a huge, huge marker for misinformation or disinformation. The second thing that is useful to know, and something that you can actually test for yourself, is whether or not this program is preaching consistency before they're preaching volume and intensity. In exercise science, we know that exercise and nutrition are about the long haul, not the short-term gains or the short-term results. You're stuck with this body you've got till you die. So,
Yeah.
so if I'm going to make the most of this body, and if the program that I'm doing is healthy for me, then consistency is going to be baked into the cake. We're going to be talking about what you can do a year from now, 10 years from now, even 20 years from now, if what you're doing is the right thing for your body. When we're looking at 8 weeks and 12 weeks as results, you can almost guarantee that this is not going to be useful to you. And then the last thing I would say is your body is a fantastic machine. You can try all sorts of things.
100%.
And
I agree with you totally. I feel like if whenever I see a program that it's not become a lifestyle, this is what you're gonna do. This is the long term. Yeah, of course, if you're competing, there's short term stuff, but the long term, when you see, like you said, six weeks, 8 weeks, become this and that before the summer. This is not the goal. This is one of the stops in that long journey, which is being active for life, being healthy, being able to cherish your body in a way that can help you fight anything, not just physically, but mentally. A lot of people don't understand how the effect of your body physically, how strong you are, can help you mentally.
mhm,
Uh,
mhm,
so that's a great, that's the first thing I think a lot of people should take from this already is like, how do you navigate through um, social media and through, all the fitness industry stuff, because a lot of people are into it. I think you can be a personal trainer in no time, and I'm sure there's a lot of people passionate about it, but
mhm,
there's a difference between passion and science, you know.
mhm,
So, I want to back up a little bit because I feel like it's very important when people understand your personal journey, can appreciate where we're going with this. I know
mhm.
that you've been through stuff that helped you. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Oh, sure. Health and fitness is in a lot of ways my life and a gateway to a life that is way less disease than it could be. So personally, I struggle with a genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos. Not many individuals have heard of it, so I'm going to make it really simple here. It's a difficulty in my body, a genetic difficulty in synthesizing something called collagen. Collagen is a very, very important protein in the body made out of several amino acids, and it keeps everything connected. It's connected in our ligaments, our tendons. There's collagen in your arteries. You probably heard of collagen for your skin, right? And even your digestive tract. And so So this disease has been very difficult in my life. I struggle with a fair amount of pain on a regular basis. My joints and my tendons and ligaments, they don't like to stay where they're supposed to stay. And so I have to be extremely careful and mindful and intentional about the way that I train my body. And similarly, from a nutrition perspective, my digestive tract is not as robust as the average humans. So I have to be very intentional about the way that I feed myself. And it sounds like something very difficult because it is, but it has also been an excellent teacher in my life. And
Mm.
so many of the people that I've gotten to work with, I'm very mindful and careful and scientific about my approach with them because I've had to do the same thing for myself over many years. And many people with my disorder are are laid up on a couch somewhere taking pain pills for the rest of their life because it's that difficult on them.
Yeah. And this is very important because when you have, and I think which we'll touch on it later, the mindset of like, okay, nothing, no giving up. This is what I want. It's I've always dealt a bad hand, damn, but I'm gonna work around it. Um, Makes you, understand and want to help other people that can go through this or even not even going through this because you appreciate it even more if you didn't have it. So,
Hmm.
your motivation coming from that standpoint, that's why this is important. And I'll share a quick story about me as well. I know a lot of the listeners here that regular that already know, but in case somebody doesn't know, but this is why I'm very passionate about taking care of your health, even when you're healthy.
Mm.
So a few years back, first I used to play professional soccer, football. I played professional for a while, and then I was always healthy, healthy, healthy. One time I went to on vacation, I stepped on something, came back very sick. All of a sudden, I wake up, I'm in coma. What's going on? And then they tell me your heart completely shut off. We have to we have to take your heart out. And they put a machine called LVAD, which is a pump the butt. So I had actually a wire coming out of my body and I had a machine, that acts as my heart. And now I went from being a professional player to, disabled and just
A
sitting there.
hospital patient.
Yeah, and it's like I had to walk with this machine. I have a bag literally and a wire coming out of me, and I have to charge myself in a wall like a cell phone all the time. And I was like, you only get you either gonna live with this if you're gonna live with this, or you're gonna have a heart transplant. And here's the key: is the after the surgery, obviously I was in coma for a long time, and the only reason I had to learn to walk again, breathe again, eat again, and the only reason I was able to do that was because of my physical fitness before. Now I was waiting for a heart. They said you gotta get a heart transplant. And this is one thing that people don't understand. And again, this is why it's very important. It's like they tell you the more you fit before the surgery, the faster is your recovery, you know. And I waited for a couple of years, and I'm very sick and I was still working out all the time because my first recovery was horrible. Then I finally have the heart transplant and same, I had to do the recovery again. And this one step, like my exercise for a while was just turning to your left side, just that. And the mindset that I needed to have and the physical ability to be able to do it. This is why I want ever, God forbid this happened to anybody, but it's just the mindset and the information that you have an ability to do it. So do it now while you're healthy. And that helped me a lot. And that's why after that, and then now I'm back to competing in soccer, you know?
Mm.
So that journey would not have been done without people like you or people around me, from my doctor to that have the correct information and push yourself. So that's why
Hmm.
I'm very passionate about this. For you and me come from the same place where like we want people to. There's an ugly world sometimes, and a lot of people don't understand it. So that's why I appreciate it, and I want people to get that level. So for you, how does regular people become healthy and fit and not give up?
Yeah, yeah. Well, those are all really important things, and thank you for sharing that story because there are many more individuals just like that who have gone through something so terrible and gone, oh my gosh, health and fitness is not just a hobby or a recreational thing for the industry.
Exactly. Yeah.
It really is life.
Save your life. Yeah.
It really is can it can come down to the quality and quantity of your years. That's really what it comes down to. So,
And who you surrounded yourself with, it's the same like when you said there's somebody with the same condition as you laying in the couch doing, and God bless them. But at the same time, you could make that choice, and that's why this conversation is important. That's why people like you
Abs
come. Yeah,
Absolutely. So how can normal people or everyday people become healthy? And
yeah,
and that's such a good question. There's several things worth saying here, but the very first thing that I need these individuals to understand, if you're not healthy right now and you'd like to get healthy, the very first thing I need you to understand is that your journey is going to look different from everybody else's journey. In the exercise science world, we call this bioindividuality. Bioindividuality. That means the blueprint that you have in your DNA is different from the blueprint that I have in my DNA. Now we share like 99.9 something percent of our DNA as Homo sapiens, great. But there's a very, very small bit that's different between me and you, Hatem, and anybody listening to this. And that difference accounts for a very vast difference in how you should best train yourself and in how you should best feed yourself. And so that really helps to filter some of the noise from the industry because some people will tell you, oh, you need to go vegan, or oh, you have to be a carnivore, or oh, you need to lift heavy weights. That's the best way, right? And those things might be true for specific genotypes. But your job as a human is to find out what's good for you, what's
mm.
right for you, and how that moves you forward. And we can actually do that now. We can actually sequence genomes and we can say, hey, you have a variation in your MTHFR gene. So that changes how your body
Can you touch again when you
regulates.
say we? Who's we? Because I want to make sure that people understand who's the we, because that's a very important.
Yeah, we, the scientific community,
There you go.
scientific community.
Yeah.
I generally refer my clients if they're interested, because you can do this in two ways. You can do this through trial and error, which is actually a very powerful way. Your body
Mm.
is the best indicator of whether or not something's working for you. So it will tell you right away over the coming weeks whether this experiment, let's say you go for a walk 30 minutes every morning in the sunshine at 6 in the morning, right? Your body is a very fantastic mechanism to tell you whether or not this is affecting you positively or not. You can almost feel different right afterward. And then within 4 weeks, you can tell, hey, has my body composition been changing? How's my average energy level? What's my sleep look like? Am I hungrier or am I losing fat, right? There's all kinds of things that you can measure. That's the science part. That's looking at how something's actually being affected by a variable, right? You can do that. But you could also, and I refer many of my clients to a, you can find a website, it's called nutritiongenome.com. They're a company that sequences your genome and can tell you, based on genetic data, what genes that you have in you that you need to be wary of when it comes to exercise and nutrition. And they're not going to be able to say, oh my gosh, you got to eat this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But they can tell you about different things that really matter in your body. For instance, I have a genetic variation in my MTHFR gene, which means my body's very bad at processing folic acid. So if I eat fortified grains, which are in a lot of cereals or in a lot of enriched flours, that sort of thing, what happens is that'll collect in my kidneys over time, give me headaches and whatnot. And so I have to be very careful about consuming folic acid. There's only about 12% of the population who fall into that category of individuals. And I learned that the hard way. I learned there were things that when I eat them, they make me feel terrible. But in doing an assessment, you can also take that data for yourself and go, okay, this is my blueprint.
Yeah.
This is how I can move forward. So that's one way the general population can get more healthy. We can keep going, but I imagine you have something you wanted to add.
I wanted to, I know some people may feel that this is a lot of information. It's actually very simple. We're gonna break it down again at the end, but I want you, if you can, to touch in the difference because I think this is important between being healthy, being fit, and looking fit.
Yeah, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I was working with a guy about 12 years ago who was, man, just a jacked looking bodybuilder. He's 22 years old, he's like 6'10", 255 pounds of nothing but muscle, beautiful lats, super strong looking, he's stage ready. And I was doing his blood panel. He walks in with his girlfriend, she's a really pretty girl, and she sits down outside. We come inside, I look at his blood panel, I'm like, dude, what is like you got to be feeling like garbage to have these numbers. What's going on? And he's sitting like this, and I was like, you got to be feeling like garbage. And he goes, oh my gosh, I feel awful. And
Mm,
so we have this conversation. If he walked by anybody in the gym, he'd be like, oh, I want to look like that guy.
yeah.
But his testosterone was the same level as a guy in his 80s. He's 22. Like he should have the highest testosterone he's going to have in his whole life right now. And he doesn't. He's like an 80-year-old on the inside. His HDL cholesterol, which is a marker of cardiovascular health and of liver function, it was in the tubes as well. And so he had manipulated his exercise and his diet, working with different coaches to look amazing on stage for the competition.
Yeah.
But his internal health was actually very hurt by this process. His diet was not conducive to getting all the fats that he needed to build testosterone. His weight training program and his cardio program were too demanding and depleting a lot of his reserves and adaptive hormonal response on the inside of his body. And so I had to sit there and ask him, like, hey, is this important enough to you to keep competing like this? Because it's going to tear you apart. Or are you ready to start making changes in your life that will help you to feel better, help you to stick around with us longer, and help you to enjoy this body that you've built, which looks great, but isn't healthy?
Yeah, that's a very important part. Is like being healthy and fit is not the same thing, and I hope people recognize that because fitness can change the definition of it. Like in general, it's the ability to delay like fatigue, right? Or when you do something, but people don't understand. Like I see so many people, especially in in a world of competition, who focus on one thing like let's say in soccer and you put them in a treadmill for a stress test and they like just cannot do it because they not fit in that way so when
Hmm.
you sports fit it's different than being healthy fit. That's very very important, and I think we the goal is to be fit in many ways, but health is number one thing. So how do people navigate the overwhelming fitness advice that they see uh, all, all the time? Like, what's like if you right now, like just a regular person listening to this, and you're like, okay, I want to change after this episode, what would be the first steps that you want to do?
Yeah, great question. So I spoke about bioindividuality earlier.
Yeah.
That's the first thing people need to understand. Your journey is different from somebody else's journey. The second thing I need you to understand is that if you're going to make changes, small incremental changes matter more than anything else. I call it 1% better daily. And that's something that other individuals have latched onto and stuff, but I've been
I
training this
loved it.
way for
Yeah,
like
yeah,
20
yeah. I
years.
love that.
In 1% better, what's that mean? That means you identify something that you know you need to stop. The smaller, the better. I need to stop staying up late scrolling on my phone. And I identify something that I need to start. I need to start eating eggs and blueberries every morning rather than rolling into Starbucks and eating a double smoked bacon, whatever. I need to identify something I need to start. I need to identify something I need to stop. And that together is my 1%. If I can do that today, and then I do that tomorrow, and then I do that the next day. If I can start doing that 1% every day, and then I start seeing the change in my body that makes a difference, then I can actually add other things to that process. And my primary recommendation for individuals is identify one thing in your nutrition that you need to change and identify one thing in your exercise process that you need to change. And if you're confused about that, you need to find somebody who you trust to coach you through that process. And and that's really where you need to start.
And for like, let's say somebody does that and, one day they messed up. It's fine. Just go back. So keep going. Don't stop. Because I feel like a lot of people feel like we live in a world where like, okay, I have to do this perfect. I have to do 10 push-ups every day. And then, okay, now 30 push and there's like I miss one day, I have to go back. Oh my God, I'm not good. And I feel the difference between elite, and I'm sure you know that because you coach a lot of elite athlete and operator, also like special forces. And this is we're going to talk about later because this is now we're connecting psychology to it.
Mm.
But because you deal with crazy situations. But if somebody doesn't follow the certain program, like part of the program is to make a mistake, to fall off the wagon, or um also people chasing results. How can is results always measurable?
Fair
By the way,
question.
yeah,
I want to come back to something right there because that's
sure.
very important. When you look at the overall picture of health and fitness and you zoom out on your life, and you don't have to go to like the end of your life. How about we just say a year? We say, hey, next year, right now, what's the best case scenario for me if I eat well and if I exercise? What's the best case realistic scenario, right? If you mess up 3 days from now in your health and fitness, you say, okay, I'm gonna exercise every day, or I'm gonna walk every day, or I'm gonna lift, 3 times a week, or whatever it is that you make your 1% goal, and you do that thing. If you miss it once, but you zoom out at the year, your goal is to just beat you last year. That's really the goal. Is if you lifted 30 sessions this year, which is less than once per week. But last year you didn't lift at all. you
Mhm.
that's 1%, man. That's a compounding process of improvement. And that brings me to your question here. Are results always measurable? And that's a tricky question because if I'm doing things that will change my body composition, then yeah, if I start lifting weights, I will see a measurable change in the muscle tissue of my body. I might get stronger, I might become more endurable, I might open up ranges of motion that I didn't have before, right? Those are all measurable results. Similarly, from a nutrition perspective, if I'm making changes that I sleep better, that's a measurable result. If I'm making changes that give me more energy or reduce how many migraines I have or change my pain threshold on a regular basis, those are measurable results. However, some of the intangibles, some of the things that aren't very measurable, I still think they're measurable, but they come out in relationships. So for instance, if I look in the mirror and I know that I'm not taking good care of my body, that's going to impact the way that I treat my wife, my kids. It's going to impact if I'm on a soccer team. It's going to impact the way I treat my fellow players, right? But if I look in the mirror and I know that I've done the most that I know how to do, I've done my training, I've eaten well, I've been going to sleep when I need to go to sleep, that sort of stuff. I'm not over consuming caffeine. I'm not getting drunk on the weekends and tearing up my liver, right? Like if I know those things, it's going to change the way that I interact with uh, my wife, my kids, my coworkers, and that's a question of identity. That's harder to measure, but the people in your life can tell.
That's a great point, actually. It's and it's so true. How you feel, how even just I feel like if you are in part of like a competition, while when you've done the work, your confidence walking in and performing, it's so different.
Hmm.
You've done the work, and when you didn't do the work. So, you can whatever sports you play, if you're playing, in any level, you know that okay, I don't deserve, I know that I'm not, and it's just gonna affect you. But when you do what you're supposed to do, and you're just gonna show up, and it's like, okay, this is what I did, and it's gonna show, you know. I want to talk about another group of people that we both, belong to at some point, and I guess still. People going through a lot, illness, suffering or injury even, because
Mm.
I feel also in the professional sport world, when people get injured, first of all, people that's very fit and very healthy rarely get injured, which is amazing as well. Like
Hmm.
we see somebody in, again, since the World Cup is coming, somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo. He's not just a soccer player. He is a model of fitness, taking
Hmm.
care of himself. He's like 40 something now and still competing, you know, um, rarely gets injured, stuff like that. So, for people that go through like ill or sick or injured or broke their foot, anything that they need to go through, how important is pushing yourself? And like, what advice you give to push themselves a little bit to do what they need to do?
That's a fantastic question. So I'm going to bring this to actually a serious problem in our society, and that is the lone wolf problem. The lone wolf problem is when I'm facing an issue, could be illness, could be an injury, and I have it in my head that I'm all alone. Like there's nobody who can help me. There's nobody who understands what I'm going through. I'm the only one who's ever dealt with this or whatever. And There's a tiny, tiny grain of truth to that because there's nobody who can handle your suffering for you. True story. Like if you're going through something, nobody's feeling the pain you're feeling, right? That's true. But what's not true about that is that you have to deal with this thing by yourself, or even that you can, right? So even in your story with the LVAT, if you didn't have a team of doctors helping you through this process, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that Hatem, no matter how gritty you are, no matter how well you know how to train, like you can't perform heart surgery on
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a big deal. And then the same thing goes for me with Ehlers-Danlos.
Yeah.
I have to deal with my suffering. I have to make decisions about what I put in my face every day. But I'm not alone in learning how to enjoy life, how to find the things in my life that are worth fighting for and moving forward. And so, what I would say first is if you are wrestling with an injury or disease, I want you to find connection with other individuals who are also wrestling through difficult things. And that could be a coach. We break in psychology, we break systems of support down into two categories: social support and professional support. Social support looks like fans in the stands. If I'm, I don't know who the popular basketball players are right now. My son would be annoyed at me. But if I'm Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
throwback, if I'm Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
social support are my fans in the stands. These are the people that are cheering me on, who really want to see me succeed, right? That's social support. That could be a spouse, that could be friends and family. Sometimes you have to find those places online. Like one of the reasons we have an online community in my business is because for many individuals they feel that way in their life, and so they need that social support and connection. And then the other is professional support. You need somebody who, when you don't feel like it or you don't know the way because you're overwhelmed, will tell you what the next step needs to be and then look you in the eyes and say, you can do it.
Yeah.
Quit whining and get it done. Because that's what a coach does. A coach is somebody who can correct you without causing you to resent them. And so what I would say is if you're in that place where you're at a low place in your health or you're injured, don't do it alone, because you have to be able to walk forward even on the days when you don't know what to do and you don't feel like doing it.
Yeah. And to add to that, I think it's also worth saying like it's perfect when you split it into the social aspect, Not, I'll take it from the professional level, but also I'm gonna add it to the personal journey of
Hmm.
everybody. It doesn't have to be always just a positive social support. Like there's people booing you in the stand that motivate you, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I see a lot of like when a guy or a lady or a man like after divorce is like I got into the best shape of my life. So sometimes use whatever you have, even if it's against you, to support you.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that's a great way to put it down. What's I always feel like there is a do you feel that anybody have can change their mindset and the importance between the mindset, the psychological part to push yourself or to do whatever and not give up. Obviously, the more elite you go, the more I wouldn't say you better. I feel like you're just more aware of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what do you say to like the everyday people about the mindset, the mentality of I'm not good enough or I'm stressed or I do this tomorrow or anything like that?
Hmm. Yeah, so I'd say there's two things there. The first is the idea of agency. Agency is whether or not I believe I can make a change. That's really what it comes down to. Is life happening to me, or am I making life happen? And even if it's in a small way, right? Because especially if you're going through some sort of very difficult time, disease, grief, pain, life is definitely happening to you. It's like
Yeah.
standing in a storm, like, that's a big tornado, right? Not a lot you can do about it. But if there's a sliver of something that you have control over, that it's your little arena, it's something that you can shift or something that you can change, that is you making life happen. As an example, back several years ago when COVID was running rampant and a lot of individuals were kind of locked down, gyms were closed. For many people that was like a mental health crisis because I can't go anywhere, I can't do the things that I do to regulate myself, right? we ran a 40-day challenge in our community of mindset, nutrition, and exercise. It wasn't anything huge. It was just saying, hey, go for a walk, do some push-ups. You can decide what you eat for breakfast today. And it was saying, hey, I know there's a bunch of things happening in life right now that you can't change, but you are an agent in some things. So let's focus on those things. Let's focus on the things we can shift, the things that we can affect, right? And so that's one big deal is if life is happening to me, I have to identify the places in my life where I can make life happen, where I do have an onus of control and I can decide what I'm going to do with those things, right? And then the second is I love exercise for this reason. If anybody's interested in the mental health perspective of exercise, that whole window of agency, how much you feel as though you have control, is actually tied to several structures in the brain. And those structures are positively affected by exercise as well. That's the
Yeah.
cool thing about it. Like, there's all this stuff going on in the world, but I did push-ups. Or all this stuff going on in the world, and if I can't do push-ups, I sat on the edge of my bed and I extended my legs and let them hang, and extended my legs and let them hang, and did some stretching today, right? I do have some control over my own body, and I can influence that control in such a way that it gets better and better over time. And so that reinforces the structures in my brain that say, hey, you are not a subject. You're an agent. You do things in the world. And when you do that, what you notice is it doesn't just affect your body. It starts affecting your work, starts affecting your relationships. And well, it's a very well-studied fact that if you take a woman who feels out of shape and you help her get into shape, she starts taking ownership in several relationships, maybe even having some fights that needed to happen like 10 years ago. But here we go. Like
Yeah.
I'm putting my foot down. This is not what we're doing anymore. And and then when you do that, you become more agent in a lot of other things too.
What a great advice that is. I think it's perfect. And I want to go to a point that you said that I think is very, very important, but I want to touch on something that I can't remember who says it, but it's kind of like what we go through is like you are like this life is a movie and you can be the star of the movie or you can be an extra in that movie. This is your life. So change it, do whatever you want. But I think when you said the part with the COVID, what you did with the community, I think the sense of competition in any level, if you can just join one of those apps, if you have the Nike apps, like how many miles you're gonna run this year, or you as collective, can you run 500 miles around like a group of 100 people? Like, I think just being part of any community, even if you don't meet them, even if it's just like online or something,
Hmm.
that competition and the sense of giving in like as part of a team. Oh, I don't want to let my team down, let me just run 2 miles today just to add, like, that is so important.
Yes, yes, it's super powerful. Human beings were not created to be alone. Human beings really feed off of each other, and those are powerful neural circuits as well. So the neural circuit of oxytocin, for instance, it's kind of the feel-good thing. It's what we get when we pet a dog,
Mm,
or when we get a hug, right? It's actually released in huge amounts when women have children. They're immediately bonded to their child, right? Oxytocin exists in community as well. When you go for a run with a group of people, even if they're not there, even if it's a virtual 5K, you get oxytocin. And what oxytocin does is it actually will motivate you and inspire you to do things that you wouldn't do all by yourself, right?
mm.
Have you ever had a gym partner that you worked
Yeah,
out with? Okay. And you're going to meet that person at 6 in the morning or whenever you're going to meet together, right? And like you wake up and you're not like, oh, I don't want to today. You're
yeah,
like, oh crap, they're waiting for me, so you go, right?
yeah.
And oxytocin is so powerful in that way because it's a relationship binding thing, but it also can inspire and encourage you to do things you wouldn't otherwise do. And that's actually the same way elite operators work in teams as well. That's why, basic training is such a painful thing. Like everybody's basically trauma bonding.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but now I'll do anything for my brother right here.
yeah,
Like I will crawl through a minefield with my guts hanging out to make sure he's okay.
yeah.
Even though everything in me says, "Hey, stupid, stop. Like we're dying here." But I won't stop if I still have a say because of because of that oxytocin bond. And yeah, so joining challenges, being a part of a community, identifying the individuals who you're interested in being connected to, and then engaging in that. It's not easy at first, especially if you're an introverted person that might not be in your wheelhouse. Doesn't mean you're not capable.
Mm,
It just means that you're not great at it without trying. But
yeah.
you can do that thing. And then what happens is you can benefit from that group bonding. And there's actually a whole line of research around an emotion called awe, AWE, not awe like, oh, a cute puppy, awe like reverence.
Mm.
Awe is the feeling we feel when we feel as though we're a part of something bigger than ourselves. And it can inspire us to do some amazing things.
100%. This is major. I think that to a lot of people, if they really like just break it down that way, it's to me, and I know you feel that because you've been through it. The human body is so amazing in terms of healing, in terms of getting like I went, like I said before, from like exercising for months for just turning to my right side to
Hmm.
boxing to running to it's just like if you trust your body, you'll be able. But I think the first step is always to have, the mindset that being like, I can do that. You know,
Hmm.
how much of the training is psychological and how much is physical?
So I believe there's something we've done in our modern philosophy that's wrong. And that is we have separated the mind and the body.
Mm,
Like we have talked about the mind and the body as if they're separate things. And even at a biological level, that's not true. Like my brain, this 3 pounds of gray matter up here, is deeply integrated into the rest of me, right? So here's an example. This blows me away because this is relatively new research in the past 5 years. But so let's say I do some pull-ups. So I get on a bar and I pull myself all the way up, all the way down. Let's say I can't do some pull-ups, I do lat pull downs instead, whatever. So I'm exercising my lats, I'm exercising my biceps, right? My lats and my biceps are muscles, and these muscles create these cool little chemical compounds called myokines, myokine. And they only exist in the muscle. But those myokines can speak to my brain.
mm,
And the way that that happens is when I exercise and I flex them and relax, and I flex and relax, they're like a sponge. And those myokines kind of sift out into the bloodstream and they flow all the way through my bloodstream into my brain and they change my mood. They change my brain state. And there's some myokines that researchers are starting to call hope molecules because these molecules seem to elicit something we don't even understand called hope. Like you finish your weight training workout and suddenly you feel way more positive about that stupid argument you had with your boss or
yeah.
whatever. And it's like, what? What? And so I think it's a mistake to separate the mind and the body. And in saying that, we have in research started looking at the exercises effects on the brain. If anybody's interested in reading a very accessible book on the subject written about 20 years ago by a psychiatrist who treated ADHD, depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's with exercise protocols rather than drugs. It's Dr. John Rady's book, Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain. We have looked at the effect of these different organ systems on each other. But I would say that nutrition, exercise, lifestyle change, they 100% incorporate both the mind and the body. We call these top-down processes and bottom-up processes. And they're always working, right? So I can change my mind, and that changes the way my body responds. Similarly, I can change my body, and that changes the way my mind responds. And the two of those things are synergistic. And it's a mistake to separate the two.
And I think that takes us back to maybe my first question is like, well, how people uh, know and navigate through the industrial. So I think that's a lesson that you should do. If somebody's trying to separate, the physical part from the psychological part rather than just work them together. And I rarely feel like anybody actually have that information you just said or like push it. All you see is like motivation. Motivation is different when you're a coach. It's like, oh, let's do that. This is not the psychological part. That's what a lot of people don't get. you know.
Mm.
You want to touch on that difference between motivation and the psychological part that,
Yeah, 100%. I like to say that motivation's cheap. So like you can feel like doing anything, but it's not going to last, right? Motivation is not cheap when you use that to invest in discipline. So when you're motivated, great. Identify some disciplines that need to be a part of your life, come hell or high water.
yeah.
So I'll use that example of walking for 30 minutes every day. When I do a Spy Fit challenge, which is one of our exercise brands with Everyday Spy, when I do a Spy Fit challenge and I bring everybody in, my one of the very first things I do, depending on the challenge, is I ask everybody who's a part of it, because I've got elite operators and I've got Sally Sue who hasn't exercised at all in the last 5 years, right? I'm like, all right, in the next 7 days, I need you to spend 30 minutes going for a walk, lifting weights, or stretching every day. 30 minutes. I don't even care what you do. Like, and I give them, they have all the resources they need to, like, if they want to lift weights, they're like, okay, I'm going to try that program. But I want that 30 minutes a day. That's your homework, right? And when we come back to the table and we all spend some time talking about it and whatnot, uh, for some people, they might have only done that 3 days. For some people, they got all seven. Great. But we had to make the space. We had to make that little 30-minute window in their day that they were doing something that was positive for their body movement wise, right? And without that space, it doesn't matter what else you do, because you could say you're going to try a workout program, but if you haven't made the space to do it, you're just going to have a nice piece of fancy fridge art. I'm going to do this workout,
Yeah.
woo, and it's just going to sit there while you walk by it every day, right? And so, that space allows then for us to do cardiovascular exercise. We can say, how do we do cardio? And how do we do it intelligently in a way that changes the body? Let's work that into our 30 minutes each day. How do we do weight training? And how do we navigate the changes in weight training that make us more endurable, or that make us stronger, or that make our muscles bigger, or make us more explosive, or make us more resilient, right? All those different things, we can do that in that space. So yes, to the question, motivation's cheap. Motivation is only awesome if I can use it to create new disciplines. And if I identify new disciplines and then I stick with those disciplines, like that 30 minutes a day thing, then motivation becomes something that I can cash in on when I have a lot of it. But disciplines are what will carry me through when that motivation fades.
Yeah, 100%. And I think discipline is the number one thing for me that I would advise anybody is like, even like I would say, go to the gym. Like you're tired, but you said go and don't do anything. Just go. Once you're there, can you even if you go, can you discipline yourself to actually not scroll through your phone or do anything? Um, so discipline is important, and like I don't get when people will do a lot of work for other people, their jobs or whatever, but not from themselves. It's like
Mm,
become a priority. I want to ask you something else that I use a lot in sports as a player, as a coach, and I think a lot of the elite players do it. Like when you see like somebody score a touchdown or like score a goal in soccer or like a basket, and it was so difficult, so hard, and you'll be like, how did you navigate through like and like dribble four people and went to the left and right? It's like, how did you think of all that? Is like I actually did it before, visualization. And you touched on it before when you said like, okay, imagine yourself in a lot of a year from now and see what's going on. A lot of times I tell my players, before we play a final important game, is like, I want you to visualize the night before and not don't just visualize, the thing. No, you actually, from your point of view, you don't see yourself. You're running. You see the
mm,
ball. Visualize yourself losing. Um, Made a horrible mistake and got goal on and then score a goal. How do you react to that? So, can you touch on the visualization part?
hmm Yeah, visualization is an amazing exercise for the brain specifically. But
Yeah.
remember, the brain and the body are not disintegrated. They're integrated. They're part of each other. And so when I take, let's say soccer's a great example. I coach soccer too, but they're little kids, first and second grade, because my youngest is in soccer right now.
There you
So
go.
if I want a bunch of first and second graders to visualize passing to each other. Say, okay, imagine you're there. And I'll even sit them there on the field. I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, close your eyes. You have the ball, but your friend's open. and you have somebody coming at you. What do you got to do? And they'll say, oh, I got to pass it. All right, keep your eyes closed, kids. Now imagine you pass it. Now what are you going to do? Well, I'm gonna shoot it. Like, yeah, you're right next to the goal, right? And then what happens when it goes in the goal? And they'll be like, we win or whatever,
Yeah.
you know. And that's first and second grade stuff. But what happens is when you visualize, we have these really cool neurons in our brain called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons are powerful because what we see gets activated within how we do things. This is how babies learn to walk, actually. They see people walking, and then they get up, and then they try to walk, and they fall down. And they're like, well, that didn't work. so,
Yeah.
so they do it again. They do it again. You know, they see people walking, they get up, and you don't sit with a baby and go, okay, now little Timmy, I need you to take your little right foot and put one right here. Okay, now great job. Now put this one right. You don't do that with babies.
Yeah.
They see and then do. And so when you visualize something, you actually activate the circuits in your brain that are required to actually do that thing. And those circuits fire all the way down to the muscle groups,
Yeah.
all the way down the spine, all the way down to the core. Those fire in the muscle groups that are required to do that thing as well. And so when they take athletes and they have them visualize something and then have them do that thing, and they did this with the basketball players. They
Yeah.
had two groups of basketball players get on the free throw line and shoot free throws, right? One group didn't get to visualize beforehand. The other group were led through a visualization exercise. And they found that the group that visualized free throws for 7 minutes made 25% more of their shots
Yeah.
just from, and I mean, that's an average. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Like you
Yeah.
can increase your performance 25% with 7 minutes of visualization prior to the
Yeah.
activity. Like, dude, that's 7 minutes well spent, right? So,
Yeah, and not only that, if you visualize not doing it, also your reaction to the mistake becomes much better,
mm,
because if I tell them to visualize that they have a penalty kick and they missed it or free throw and missed it, it's like, okay, are you looking at me? Are you like going through your mind? But because you continue the visualization exercise and you end up winning the game, so now when you do the mistake, it's like, okay, I got it, I got it.
yes,
We're
yes,
gonna switch
yeah.
it up.
And then when you actually achieve something, like
Yeah,
free throw might be a small example, but let's
yeah,
say you do it and the crowd goes wild, right?
yeah,
That neural circuit just got a whole bunch of dopamine,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and so now it's way stronger than it was before. So
yeah,
visualization is kind of like priming the pump in the sense that I've given my body the best opportunity to be prepared for the thing I visualized. And
yeah,
then when I succeeded at that thing, and I might have failed at it 9 times, but the 10th time,
yeah.
when I succeeded at that thing, I get this huge rush of dopamine that in the brain connects these synaptic connections even stronger. And so now my likelihood of being able to repeat that thing is significantly higher now, especially if I get some great rest after I'm successful.
Yeah. Uh, Speaking of Kobe, Black Mamba is a great book to read as well. It's so I want to talk about something very important, is like mental toughness, and the new generations and the new things about the world that is a borderline. It's okay to fail. It's okay. This mindset, especially for the newer generation, and I think, there's parts to it that is okay. There's parts of it that's definitely not okay, but it shapes a lot of people. Being okay, that I think it affected the mental toughness of a lot of people. So first, what is mental toughness? And we're talking about, let's not talk about like athlete and high level. We're talking about just regular people right now. Mental toughness, and what's your thoughts on the new I link it again to the fitness industry and social media and stuff like that. Is that okay to fail? Okay, not to achieve something. Okay, not to do something that you planned. It's okay to fail for a moment, but not, you don't celebrate it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good question. So mental toughness in my vernacular, I call it grit.
Mm.
And grit in my mind is not necessarily a trait. Grit is a discipline. Grit is something that you can build into your system, right? And there's our actual structures in the brain that are related to this. There's a structure near your amygdala called your anterior cingulate cortex. And that anterior cingulate cortex lights up when there's something you know you need to do, but you don't feel like it. So I'm a dad. My baby cries in the middle of the night. You know what I don't want to do? I don't want to get up.
Mm.
I'm sleep deprived. I had a long day at work, right? And I was sleeping so good, and it's cold out of my covers, all the stuff, right? But my baby's crying. And like, bro, survival of the species, man. Like you got to
Yeah.
get up, you got to take care of your baby. And it's your turn because your wife's like, get out of bed. And so you have all these things. I don't feel like it, but I can, right? And that's the thing. I don't feel like it, but I can. And what researchers have started calling the anterior cingulate cortex is the will to live.
Mm.
That's very powerful because somewhere deep down in there is this thing in you that says you don't want to, you don't feel like it, but this is what it means to live. So do it, right? That's the part of you. And and everybody has this. Like the whole human race has this little piece of them right on the inside that is the will to live. The thing is, when you exercise that will to live, when you do things that you don't want to do, even though you wanted to or you need to, that part of you gets more neurons. It gets denser. It gets stronger, right? And that's the thing. It doesn't matter when you fail at something. It matters that you try it again. That's what matters. Everybody's going to fail at stuff,
Yep.
especially if you're new to it. I call it the noob phase. You take a new soccer player, they're going to suck. Like that's
Yeah.
just nobody comes out of the womb kicking soccer balls, right? And so you have to endure through the noob phase of something in order to come out the other side with the skill required that it's not hard anymore. But the capacity to endure is something that we can't lose. You called it mental toughness, I'm calling it grit. But the ability to endure is actually something we can train. It's actually something we can do. And if you're not an elite athlete, one of the best ways you can do that, I do this. I have a 68-year-old woman I'm training right now who just finished 2 knee replacement surgeries. And this woman is a gritty woman. She's been through a lot of things. And right now, what we're doing is we have the biggest hill in the neighborhood, and we are walking up that thing and we're not stopping, right? And
Nice.
and she has to have the mentality because for her, this is hard. 2 knee replacements, cardiovascular difficulty and stuff. Like I she signed the waiver. So it's like I'm willing to die on this hill. That's really what she's thinking. I'm willing
Yeah.
to die. I'm not going to die because I'm going to
Yeah.
make it to the top of this stupid hill, but I'm willing to this is literally the hill I'm willing to die on.
Good for her.
And that's necessary in life.
Yeah.
It's necessary in life to know what hill you're willing to die on. And if you find yourself in a place where you're failing continually at something, it's time to put a line in the sand.
Yeah.
It's time to say, no, 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 I'm not failing at this thing. I'm not failing at this thing because you have to teach that part of your brain that there is no quit in you.
Yeah.
When you do that, you'll have some grit and you'll be able to apply that to a bunch of different things.
And that's a great advice. And I think also like if you wanna look to the point is like nobody like start that great. If you look at, it's all about the journey. Look at in all sports, look the number one draft pick overall. They never end up being the greatest player. It's always the one that didn't draft or the seventh or eighth, Michael Jordan, like Kobe, like some didn't even draft, some didn't even like Michael Jordan didn't even pick in high school. You don't have to peak right now. You don't have to compete with the people right now. It's the long distance. You just keep doing what you're gonna do to master what you're gonna do, and then you're gonna be awesome. It's so crazy. Um, that people like, and I think this is the most important thing from like the fitness industry is doing harmfully is telling people results need to be achieved right away. Like your point, 6 weeks, eight. Let's talk about Everyday Spy because it's so interested to me, and I'm meeting a lot of people recently from that platform, and you know, um, tell people what it is and what do you do there?
Yeah, Everyday Spy is an awesome community, awesome business. I get the opportunity to work with Andrew Bustamante. He's the founder and CEO of Everyday Spy, and their goal is to help individuals break barriers. And they take things that were learned through elite operator training, like CIA, and brings that into a place where even if you're not an elite operator in the CIA, you can train your mind, you can train your body, although we're integrated, right? Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
We can train our mind, we can train our body to break the barriers that we see in our life. And for many individuals, it's just a matter not necessarily of willpower, not necessarily a matter of not having the tools or resources available to them, but it's a matter of being untrained. And once you're trained, your mind and body work way better for you,
Yeah. If you remember Denzel Washington and Man on Fire, he was like, trained or non-trained? Which one? Trained or non-trained? But
right?
yeah, you do a lot of good work. And I think it's in the world we live in now, especially with all these wars and all these news every day and the economy and stuff, your physical and mental health is so important to navigate through this. Um, what final advice would you like to give to people to take away from this? And if people want to find you, follow you, or contact you, or listen to your shows, or read your book, where can they go?
Mm. So this has been such a great conversation, and like you said, there's it's kind of overarching. So many different things fall into health and fitness. But I'd love for your listeners to hear from me in final is if you don't know what to do with all this stuff, it's overwhelming to you. Don't do this by yourself. I hope that this conversation has built some trust between you and I so you can seek some help with us at Everyday Spy. We will get you moving forward 100% and not in some namby-pamby Instagram sort of way, like the real stuff.
Yeah.
But don't do this thing alone. Find a group, find coaches, find people who will move you forward in a consistent manner, not the 6 weeks, not the 12 weeks, in a way that changes your life for the better. Don't do this thing alone. And you can find all the stuff that we do at the links in the show notes, I'm sure. And then if you're interested in things that I had to say about belief and how that affects our physical body and our mind, you can find my book, Faithful Fitness, at faithfulfitnessdevo.com.
Okay, can we touch on that quickly
Of
about your
course.
book? Because I think it's almost an episode in its own because I think
Sure.
it's very important. But you want to touch on that quickly? And what are you on Twitter or any of those things if people want to follow you or you have your own website?
Yeah, you can find all my social media links at faithfulfitness.org.
Okay. I'll have
So
all the links in the description for Everyday Spy and for your work. Let's talk about your book as well.
yeah. So I wrote this book. I actually didn't mean to write this book. It was a part of several different projects that I was working through. But Faithful Fitness, a 40-day devotional for stewardship and health, is really a journey through how you take not knowing what to do with your health and fitness, and through a 40-day process, coming out the other side transformed. And this isn't like you're gonna lose 100 pounds in 40 days. It's getting your mind and your body aligned in this process. We cover the 4 disciplines: integrity, grit, growth, and awe. We spend 10 days on each of those, and we dig into nutrition, and we dig into exercise, we dig into fasting. We also dig into some of the mindset pieces that teach us who we're fighting for, what
Mm.
we're fighting for, and why our fight is important. And so that's like I said, I'm not a theologian, I'm not a pastor or preacher, but I did need a way to help individuals step through this journey one day at a time to take themselves from I'm not sure what I'm doing with myself to I know exactly what I'm doing with myself.
Yeah, I think that was very important. I spent, like I said, a long time in the hospital, and I think that part of it, with everybody that was in the hospital, and people like will come in and help us in a spiritual way, I
Hmm.
think that is important. It doesn't matter like if everybody can have their own thoughts or believe or not believe or do this, but I think the understanding of it is important. And if you manage to take it your side, it's gonna give you an extra push that's much needed. What
Hmm.
made you write this book?
Uh, for me, a
Yeah.
deep part of it was that as I worked with clients over the last 20 years,
Mm.
the ones who actually made progress, and we're talking elite operators and general population individuals alike, the ones who actually made progress had a very, very deep belief system as to why this was important. And the same thing goes in my life. And
Yeah.
so you could take the perfectly written nutrition program, you could take the best exercise advice, but if somebody didn't have a deep why that this mattered, a deep understanding of that anterior cingulate cortex, what am I living for?
Yeah.
What's the journey forward need to look like? Then none of the science could teach us that. The science could teach us how, but the science couldn't teach us why. And so I wanted to write this book to bring those thoughts into a place that people could both consume them, digest them, and act on them in a repeatable process.
Alex, this has been great. I think we should definitely do part two soon. But it's great talking to you. Thank you so much for all the information and all the stuff. And I hope people coming out of this and understand the discipline, the resilient, the real understanding of fitness and how to get help, you know. And I think it's a good idea to reach out to you and see what's going on, you know. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
100% Tim. Thanks so much for having me, guys. And to your listeners, I always say something when I leave a podcast, and that is, it's don't forget what we talked about here. Train hard and pray harder.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And take parts of the podcast even just one at a time and try to listen deep because I think there's a lot of very good advice. And again, we both came, Alex and I came from a place where like we were in the worst physical and health part and we overcome it. If we have known the information that we know now, maybe you did, but I didn't. But it would have been different. So I hope this can prepare for anything. So thank you, Alex, so much for sharing all this. And guys, give him a follow.
Take care, brother.